Hey Hebrew fans, this is Todd. So today I'm going to talk about King Hsss. Now King Hsss, as we know, came like this, his original figure, and he had some really cool ideas when he first came out. One was his storyline was basically, you can see here that King Hsss tricks his foes by appearing heroic, but then transforms. And I always love this scene of all these trees and all these snake guys hidden around. And I've actually wanted to recreate to see how like vines hanging down, and it's just a really cool scene. You can see all the snake guys there, and how cool is that? And so I always kind of love this idea. But how many times could he do this trick? I mean, basically he sees HeMan. Hey, HeMan. Blah, I'm a snake guy. He can only do it once. After that, he's going to know, hey, I know underneath there you're a snake guy. I kind of wish he was a little more tricky about it, like he'd run behind a tree, transform and come out, blah, and then, you know, go back to the heroic looking King Hsss. So this was always kind of a little bit tricky to figure out, you know, how exactly, you know, do you play this way or whatever, because obviously once HeMan knows, the cat's out of the bag. So let's go ahead and transform him, the original 80s. You pull his arm off, his other arm off, and then you would carefully open this up to not break any pegs off. And bada bing, bada boom, you have this massively scary snake. Okay, it's not really that scary. His head's looking straight up, and he's got these little peggy arms that's supposed to be snakes. And next to He-Man, it's just really not that scary. And it's hard to believe this is one of the main factions to make this guy our main bad guy, this, you know, King Hsss. And you can see in the comic, you got King Hsss, and in here you can see, you know, there he is, this triumphant looking big muscle bound dude. And it's the same kind of story where he comes up, he says, you're safe now, friend. And safe? Then not everyone in this world is evil? Not at all. You're visiting Eternia. Quite the opposite, fool. I am finally home. Psst. Your skin, it's not real. Eyes, hypnotic eyes. And then he hypnotizes him to make him fall asleep. Not take control of him, which would have been really cool, but just have him fall asleep. Now, obviously, once he did that once, He-Man is now wise to it, and it's kind of hard to keep doing that same trick. Now, maybe they could have had it that when he gets hypnotized, he forgets that King Hsss is this snake guy. You know, that could possibly work. But nope, you see him here, and he's, you know, been captured, and big old battles, and everything else, and ha-ha, hooga, and all the fighting. It's kind of a fun comic. And then at the end, you see that they're shaking hands, Skeletor and King Hsss, and they're talking about how, you know, they're going to take on the evil horde together, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, and then secretly behind them, and then I will destroy you, and they're both thinking the exact same thing. So basically, work together, and then take each other out in the end. So kind of a fun little comic, but again, you know, King Hsss can only do that surprise attack so many times. Now, in 2000X, we saw he was already evil looking to begin with, so no surprise there. But even in the Classics line, we have a sort of heroic looking, kind of creepily heroic looking, but still not that heroic. So I do want to talk first about the 80s. I've talked a lot about my other cool customs that I've done here many times, but I haven't talked a lot about the 80s King Hsss. We'll talk about the other ones in a few minutes. So, first of all, not very menacing, right? And he's looking straight up at the sky. So I wanted to make my own King Hsss a little more menacing and a little more scary. So let me show you what I did first. So, and some of you guys may have seen this in some really old videos I put together a long time ago. And I purposely have this off camera, so I don't want to ruin the surprise too much before I show you all the cool things I did at this King Hsss. So, here is my new King Hsss that I was working on. And first thing you'll notice is his head's not looking up. It's actually looking forward. So I took and I put a metal pole down his neck and had it pre-bent so it would force his head to look forward. So now he's actually looking forward and not up. Second, I added some secondary snake arms. There we go. Now he can have a little more scariness going on with some secondary snake arms, a little more fuller looking. So now he's not quite as... Now he looks a little more scary with all 4 arms coming out. And so basically I just attached them to the back, and they're on a rubber band, and ran them through the front, and there is the other ones. Now, after I did that, I could not put this faceplate on anymore, because now his face is going forward and in the way. So I had to create a new faceplate. Where did I put it? Here it is. And the new faceplate actually has that part cut out where his face goes. So now I had kind of a half transformed King Hsss. And when I did this, this is before 2000X when I first made this, so it was kind of a fun new idea. Now the back, I had to do the same thing. I had to cut out the holes. Even though he's already movable, I knew if I kept removing them, eventually they would break off or break the elastic. So I made it that you just take and you funnel his arms through the holes. And there you go. He's got some hidden snakes in the back. And then you stick his hands back on. Erp. And there is my half transformed King Hsss. With the snakes on the back, you can have pop out of the sides. Just kind of fun, like he has snakes coming out his back. Psh. Kind of a fun little deal. So that's my in-between one. So I didn't have an original King Hsss anymore because I got rid of him a long time ago. So I had to go on eBay the other day and just get one of these, just so I could show you guys the original versus my custom. So there you go. Half transformed King Hsss versus my full form King Hsss with 4 snake arms, head looking forward, instead of just 2 snake arms. And again, I never actually planned to create a half transformed one. It's just his face wouldn't fit, and it worked out really good. So what's crazy is look at the color difference in this green. I can't believe the color's so different. That's funny. Anyway, so now let's go ahead and talk about the other King Hssses that I have customized through the years that many of you guys have already seen, but we'll look at them again. So we know first we got this King Hsss that came to us from Classics, and this King Hsss right here, he came with a little snake top half piece, and if you're really good, you could find a way to kind of make the arms look a little beefy by bringing them out and crazy twists and everything else. And I saw some really good ones online, but in the box he came like this. I purposely left this one as careful as I could. These are not his legs though. As careful as I could to not mess with these so you could have one straight out of the box how it looked. But then very quickly we realized that if you were to get 2 of them, you could add some extra snakes like I did with my 80's one. Oops. And so right here you can see I just took and added 2 extra snakes that I would carefully cut out and super glue them in place and bring them over the top. And I added this little snake right here in the front to give it a little more coolness to it. And there is my pseudo 2000X or 2000X Skeletor or King Hsss, which looks way more menacing than just the standard little 2 arms coming out. So of course everybody wanted this type of thing, and so I decided to take it a step further, and I made my own legs that were 2000-ish looking, and basically added these boots right here, painted little green on there, and then added this loincloth, and tried to make my own 2000-ish kind of looking snake. And then decided to make it half transformed, so he has human arms still, and he has the armor on, and the snakes are just coming out like crazy. That'd be kind of a fun thing. Now the hard part was getting his head through this hole, and I think this is a newer version. Yep, where I actually made it so his head is removable, and made a little circular piece so it could pop on and off. But originally his head was not like that, so I carefully cut his head, which made it a lot easier to put it in there. I cut it like right here on the neck, and then I made it so I drilled it up and made a circular piece so it can actually pop onto any figure's head. And then I also added a round piece from Man-at-Arms on the inside of that. I'm not going to take it off and show you though, because it's too much of a hassle. But that is nice, as now it gives him the ability to turn his head with his armor on. Alright, so after that, we got the 2000X King Hsss for real. And that was kind of cool. Here he is. And at first I was excited about getting this 2000X King Hsss because it finally had fixed shoulders. Because originally the shoulders on these were not fixed, and you had to carefully take apart your King Hsss and try to turn them inside out and make them work. Let's see if I have one that's not fixed here. Nope, I fixed that one too. I also made it so his arms go down further as well. I fixed the fatness. You can see here that here's a regular unfattened fixed, and here's one with the fat fixed. And so my excitement was, all right, we're going to get one that has the corrected shoulders, so then it's just a matter of swapping pieces to make a King Hsss that's right. Here's the problem. Wrong shade of green. Which makes me wonder, is that what happened to these guys? Was there two releases of these guys, where we got one that's a darker green and one that's a lighter green that kind of match better with the 2000X kind of, and this one almost matches better with the classics sort of. Anyway, just a thought as I was looking at these two King Hssses. So, I decided I wanted to make one of these dark green. So here is my dark green version. Oh, they tumble like dominoes. And you can see the color difference that I went and did the darker green and matched it up so that he would look the same color, so that I could switch parts easier. Because right now, if you just start switching these around, it would look weird having a dark green and light green pants or vice versa. So I wanted to make one so that I could do more swapping and switching on these things. So that is why I have my dark green one to actually match this one here. So that was the plan. All right, so later on we got a cool snake torso piece that did come with these legs right here, and basically it was supposed to be the answer to our snake problem, because now we have the menacing snake, and this is like so awesome. And the head turns, it's got the tongue sticking out, it has lots of snakes, it has 6 giant snakes like we should have, but it has the wrong legs. I was like, oh, they're so close, so close. In fact, if you take a look at the loincloth they gave us was the one that came with the original King Hsss, not the 2000X one. So my goal at that point was to find a way to swap out the loincloth. So what I did was I took 2000X legs, and I took the legs off, swapped the legs out, and that was a pretty easy fix, which then of course left this little leg piece thing here which is left over. So there you go. Now I had a 2000X, and for fun I put the armor back on. I took a piece of one of the toys that you can make a bunch of figures out of. Let's see, this one was not Modulok. Oh, what is his name? The robot Modulok made. Oh, I can't think of his name. You guys post it in the comments. I can't remember his name now. And Megabot? No, I don't know. Anyway, just shoved it up in the armor and forces it to fit correctly. Otherwise, his stomach piece comes way out. So there you go. Now, kind of a fun dealy bob. So let me go ahead and put this back together. And being I like the darker green, I did make a second set of legs that are dark green for when he transforms into the snake version too. So I could have the full dark green. And then somebody online said, you know, your King Hsss is not correct. Even with the armor half transformed, it's not the way it is in the cartoon. I'm like, what? It's not the way it is in the cartoon. And he showed me in the cartoon, King Hsss actually, when he transforms, has a back piece still on and a half helmet. So I made this custom. And this is my 2000X cartoon custom where he has the helmet and the half back. And there you go. I left the shoulder pieces on there too, and I got a whole video explaining how I made this and how it all works. So now I have my true 2000X King Hsss after he transforms with his half helmet, half back, the way it's supposed to be. Now, when we're talking about fatter armor, he of course had the fatter armor as well, because they had the locking feature underneath here. And so in one of my custom classes, I'm going to explain how to get rid of that and how to make it look nice and tight like this one here where his arms go down on the sides. So I actually do have an extra torso right here that I will be transforming to look like this live for you guys in one of my custom classes. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it about all my King Hsss. If you have any questions, leave them below, and I might discuss them later on in a live class. Also, let me know how the sound works. I tried to use a different microphone, and I wanted to know how it came out. So give me your opinion on the microphone sound, and I think that's all that I have. It's cool about this King Hsss too is his mouth actually opens and closes. It's got a giant hinge. This one, the mouth doesn't open and close, but it's much more aesthetically pleasing. So they got the both pluses and minuses. This one, of course, huge pluses compared to this. Not quite so scary. All right, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about my cool half transformed 80s version. If you like it, don't like it, think it's cool, think that it was a waste of time, let me know. And again, this was kind of a work in progress that I did as I was making him. So kind of a fun thing. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Remember to join our master's class on customizing, and we'll talk about more cool customizing stuff. Bye now.